making their first contribution, can I call Morven-May MacCallum?
Thank you very much, Deputy Presiding Officer, and congratulations on your appointment. I would like to declare before I progress on my maiden speech that I am a councillor for the Highland Council and I am a volunteer with Lyme Disease UK and Lyme Resource Centre. I would like to thank my predecessors for all their service and the people of the Highlands and Islands for placing their trust in me and sending me to this Parliament. It is an immense privilege to stand here today, not only because I have the honour of representing the incredible people of the Highlands and Islands, where I was born and raised, but because there was once a time when my family and I feared that I wouldn't be alive today. There are many issues that I could speak about when it comes to healthcare in the Highlands and Islands, but today I would like to speak about something which remains largely hidden from view. I'd like to speak about chronic illness, and I would like to do so through my own experience. As a teenager, I was bitten by a tick which infected me with Lyme disease. What should have been a few weeks of treatment became years of medical uncertainty. I was repeatedly misdiagnosed, repeatedly denied treatment, and ultimately left to fend for myself as my health condition deteriorated. I spent over 8 years of my life largely housebound and bedbound because of this. While my friends were studying, travelling, building their futures, I was fighting simply to survive each day. It was only through the determination of my family and the financial sacrifices they made that I am here today. Even now, I live with a lifelong illness that affects every aspect of my day. But my story should never have been my story, and nor should it become anybody else's. Yet, all these years on, I constantly hear from people whose experience mirrors my own. The tragedy is that for many people, a few weeks of the correct antibiotics can prevent a lifetime of ill health and disability. Despite the NICE guidelines on Lyme disease coming out in 2018, people are still being refused treatment, prescribed inappropriate antibiotics and diagnosed too late. The main reason for this is that we still don't have an accurate blood test for Lyme disease. Lyme disease is caused by an extraordinarily complex bacteria, but complexity should never be an excuse for neglect. More worryingly still, these failures are not only harming people's lives, they are costing them. Scott Beattie was a gamekeeper from Rossshire who died at Rigmore Hospital at the age of just 43 after being misdiagnosed and mistreated. What happened to Scott should never have happened, and we owe it to him, to his partner and their 2 children to do better. We owe it to all those people who were left with so little hope by the very system that was built to support them, that they felt they had no choice left to them but to take their own lives. The issue with Lyme disease is widespread, from people being infected walking up Arthur's Seat to people's gardens being so overrun by ticks in the Highlands and Islands that they are scared to let their children play in them. In fact, in a 2024 survey by Lyme Resource Centre, they found that 80% of respondents reported being infected with Lyme disease in the Highlands and Islands, and yet public awareness remains painfully low. The same survey found that 82% said that they, a family member, friend or colleague suspected Lyme disease long before a medical practitioner did. Patients should not have to diagnose themselves, but sadly many people living with chronic illness will recognise the experience of having to self-diagnose. Across Scotland, people with ME, CFS, fibromyalgia, endometriosis, POTS, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and many other chronic conditions face similar struggles to get diagnosed, access support and treatment. While the conditions may be different, their experiences are often remarkably similar to those who suffer with Lyme disease. Perhaps the most damaging experience of all, though, is not simply the illness itself. It's not being believed. People with chronic illness are often told it's probably just anxiety. Well, you don't look sick. It's all in your head. These are statements that patients should never have to hear. People with chronic illness should not have to sell their homes, spend their pensions, take out huge loans to pay for treatments that should be provided on the NHS. Because behind every misdiagnosis and every waiting list statistic is a human being whose life has been torn apart. I remain proud of our NHS and grateful to the staff who work tirelessly within it. But supporting our NHS also means being honest about where it is failing. We need to have better diagnostics for all chronic illnesses. We need specialist expertise. We need greater awareness among both healthcare professionals and the public. And we need to ensure that patients are listened to when they tell us that they are ill. Because my story should never have been my story, and Scott's story should never have been his. And all across Scotland today, there are people whose stories are still being written, and we have the power to change them. So, I ask this chamber to come together to ensure that no one in Scotland has to fight harder to be believed than they do to get well. And I ask the Cabinet Secretary if she will pay tribute to this in her closing speech and will be open to further discussions with me on this topic. Morven-May.